Mic check, 1 2 1 2. Welcome everybody, thanks for coming. So we're going to start this session up on our feet. So you can take your feet any width you like, from together to as wide as your mat. Should feel comfortable and stable. And we're just going to start with a few little rolls in the shoulders. So start easy, start slow. And just feeling that forward and the upward and the backward and eventually the downward movement. Forward, upward, backward, downward. Enjoy it. If it just inherently is not pleasurable at all, maybe there's a way to make little adjustments so that it just feels better. Maybe moving more slowly. Maybe trying to make the circle a little smaller, not trying to go to your full range of motion. Maybe just sprinkle in a little, kind of a little attitude element, right? Where you're grateful for the shoulders that you have, for their current state of health, for your capacity to take a little time out and take even better care of them. So if you haven't already, let's switch the direction. It does feel a little different. Same four elements, but just in opposite order. So you're going backward, upward, forward, downward. Backward, upward, forward, downward. Goodness. Last couple circles. All right. Let's release that. So then we're going to just take this single arm, start with either side, and just do a few easy bigger circles. So I often present this as though it's kind of a warm-up to like a softball pitch or a swimming backstroke. Forward, upward, backward, downward. Last couple. And with the same arm you're moving now, probably left for most of you, we're going to go in the opposite direction. More akin to overhand pitching or a serve in tennis if you're right-handed. Or freestyle swim. We'll serve in tennis either-handed. All right, last circle or two. Oh man, that feels good. And then everybody, let's switch arms. So moving to the new arm, probably right for most of you. going to start with that backstroke-ish movement. Obviously it doesn't perfectly follow a swimming pattern, but you all know what I mean. You can also think of it as that underhand pitch. And same as the shoulder circles when the arms were just hanging loose, you can go a little slower if that feels better. You can take the circle smaller if that feels better. And then let's switch directions on this arm number 2 to the overhand pitch, freestyle swim. Oh, goodness. All right. Then let's see if we can get both arms going backward. So this changes like how it feels quite a bit in that your spine can't really twist to follow the arm because it doesn't know which arm to twist toward, so it stays centered. And then lastly, let's wrap it up with a few forward. The sequence wouldn't be complete without our brain teaser, so this will finish it. One arm forward, opposite arm backward. It's a bit confounding. Switch. New arm forward, new arm backward. And finally, let's release. Once you do, we'll swing the arms in a totally different direction. Oh, goodness. So you can alternate which one crosses on top. Even spread the fingers a little bit. It's unlikely the arms will cross behind you. Mine get nowhere close. But if they did, maybe you'd even alternate that. Last few swings. Then we're going to let the arms run along the side of the mat like they're just hanging straight down and do some swings along this sideways plane, along the side plane of your mat. Now for this one, if you want a little more shoulder stretch, you can let the hands clap behind. Seems mildly annoying to do the clap every time, but it also just obviously confers that the hands are indeed coming together. A little more stretch for the shoulders, a bit more coordination, kind of sensing, feeling without seeing when that connection is happening. Or you could even just tap fingertips. Last couple. All right. Oh, that feels good. All right, let's shake that out. Next order of business. Gotta make sure I don't kick anything here. So, we're gonna take one leg. Probably gonna start with the left over here, and just let it gently swing along the side of your mat. If you're not into swing, maybe you find a different kind of movement pattern for the leg. Maybe where it just reaches with less swing. That's fine. Maybe the swing's very slow. Maybe the swing's a little bigger and more athletic. And you can also do this last little part that I'm working on here, the little counter swing with the arms. Okie dokie, schmokies. Let's release that. New leg. Swinging along the side of your mat. Whew. Okay. And naturally, this is a built-in feature to this whole sequence. Where when we're swinging leg, in this case right for most of you, we're stabilizing that opposite leg. The swing could be slower. It could even be not a swing, where it's just two separate reaches. That's fine. It could be a little faster, and with that coordinated arm swing. I love these arm counters here. Freeze frame, right arm's following, left arm's following right leg. Last few. Great for balance too. But real easy if you're not finding the balance, right? You just tap down when you need to and come back up as you can. And then release that. Let's go back to leg number 1. Left side, I think, for most of you, but leg number 1. And then just let it coast across the front of your mat. And obviously, if you're not on a mat, that's fine. You can just use these as reference points. In addition, that stable leg, the ankle is getting all these different looks. It's having to stabilize when it's a little bit pronated and a little supinated, a little bit pointed and a little bit flexed. It's great. And then let's release that. Leg number 2, movement number 2. If you had a soccer ball that your foot were making contact with, you'd be delivering that soccer ball directly to your right or directly to your left. Not really a forward pass or a backward pass. Put more simply, if you do have your mat, your foot's just on that front line of the mat. Oh, okay. And then let's release that. Last one. Let's go back to leg number 1. Lift her up. And picture sort of like basically like you're standing inside a hula hoop. Right? You're in the middle of a hula hoop. And just see if that leg can go, let's say at minimum over to past 12 o'clock by 1 hour. And then open by 2 or 3. So maybe on the clock face you're going, 10 to 2. Maybe 9 to 3. But maybe one of these movement patterns for the leg is a little harder than the other one. Last couple goes. And to be clear here, now you're not aligned with the line of your mat because this is circumducting. So it's got the circular pattern. Oh, that is good business right there. And then let's release that last time. New leg, circumduct. So you're in the middle of a hula hoop. And maybe that front foot and really the hip ranging on a conservative estimation from like 11 to 1 on the clock. 10 to 2 as you're getting a little more open. 9 to 3 perhaps as your hips finding some sort of full range of motion. Ay, ay, ay. Last couple. So good. And then let's release that. So you can do this next one, last one, either at a wall or no. So sans wall. Just catch leg number 1. Flex your spine a little, the opposite of a back bend. Squeeze your butt cheeks. And just let the thigh stretch back a little bit. So if I was going to assess my own thigh flexibility, I have negative amounts of flexibility. Meaning, like, this guy's neutral, right? The straight leg. How far back does this thigh go? It doesn't even go to neutral. So my backward stretch, which I'll fake, right? That thing is in the negative department. I have negative 5 degrees of flexibility. I say that's boo. So I'm working on it. But when the glutes are locked down and I'm not back bending, it's challenging. Okay. And then let's release that. Lastly, side 2. You probably don't need the demo, but naturally if you're going to use a wall, you can just go lean up against the wall. I actually did this last session. So you've got a little bias toward flexing in your spine, the opposite of back bending or extending. Some squeeze tight in your butt. Oh, goodness. And then some amount, come on, thigh. Some amount of releasing back. Oh. It's kind of nice to do it without the wall if you can. We've done this whole balancing sequence sans wall. So, out in the middle if you're able. Otherwise, wall. Let's release that. Awesome, you guys. All right. So let's come back to a nice, relatively wide standing position. We're going to bring the hands up to the heart. All right. It's been super quiet, not going to be a hard line, but I do hear somebody's mic on because I heard you all clear your throat. Okay, so bring your hands to your heart. Feel the feet get nice and stable here. We've been all over the map with those feet, hitting the legs in every direction, hitting the shoulders in every direction. Really challenging our balance already. And now we can just get stable for a moment and connect to breathing. Once you feel really connected to your breath, on an inhalation, expand the arms outward and upward. On an exhalation, hinge from your hips, flex a little from your spine, release the head down. On the next inhale, perch your hands up around your shins and pull your trunk forward. So essentially what you want to do with this guy, obviously just keep breathing comfortably, keep weight pretty even in your feet, toes and heels. If you had a yoga block between your thighs, you'd be trying to squeeze the yoga block backward, but keeping the legs, the microscopic bend, no hyperextension. But all the while, you're trying to reach the chest, the back of your neck, forward, away from that yoga block we were visioning. Visualizing. Okay. All right. So from here, everybody, then we just release down. Oh. And you can take either the flattish back approach or the slow uncurl, more like the fiddle foot of a fern when these guys, before they uncurl, and slowly rise up. At the top, obviously you're welcome to reach the arms up, but eventually let's just come back to Tadasana. Hands at the heart. Feet on the floor. Legs nice and stable. Back of the neck long. Connected to your breath. Inhale, reach both arms out and up. Exhale, hinge from the hips. When you're out of hip hinging room, you continue onward through full flex. Shouldn't hurt. If it does, definitely back up. But if it feels okay, you're basically releasing as far into the pose as feels good. Now from here, this is a little different. This is actually, I'm loving this guy lately. All right, it's kind of an oldie but goodie with a new twist. Some of you need to bend your knees for this guy. You're going to take your hands, one per foot, right underneath your foot. So one hand per foot. Oh, that feels good. And then the pads of the feet are pressing into the palms of the hands. The wrists get a stretch. The feet get like some nice tactile feedback. The hands get pressed on. All right. Now, here's the crazy bonus. You're going to take your hands and spin them like so. So your fingers are going to face out toward 9 and 3 o'clock. What's that going to leave? Your thumb back at like 6 o'clock. Oh my gosh. And you're going to press the pads of your big toes into basically like the pad of the thumb. That leaves your hands out to the sides at 9 and 3. And you press on those thumbs like you're just flattening them into the ground, into your mat. Now the last little piece here, and I know I've never taught this before, so it probably seems really weird. You're going to curl, if you can, curl your fingers around the outer edge of your feet. Oh. To come on out, we are going to extract the hands, widen the feet, and make your way down to a malasana kind of squat. All right. Personal note. I mean, not ridiculously personal. For me, this point right here, kind of in the meaty part of the hands, and where the thumb and index finger sort of merge into the palm, it's almost always tense. I don't know if it's texting thumbs or doing massage sometimes back in the day, or just natural source of tension. But I've even gone to the point where with a masseuse, forget my back and my shoulders and my hips, just squeeze this for 25 minutes. Right? This spot. I mean, it's a little weird. Not everybody is that tense in there. All that to say that step on the thumb movement gets at this area unbelievably effectively and strongly and actively. It's really nice. Anyway, still in Malasana. Last few breaths here. All right. So from here, we're going to transition into all fours. We're going to take one hand behind the head and just do a little upward twist in the direction of the elbow. And then do a little downward twist in the direction of the opposite elbow. So there's a small upward lift in the direction of the elbow on your head, and there's a small downward move toward that elbow that's in tabletop. Try one more. Oh. And then we'll change sides. And this has the spine moving on a couple different planes. So in this one we've got some extension and some twist. In this one we've got a little flexion and some twist. Go through those mindfully. Don't try to crank too hard on them. Just like as soon as you feel a little sticking point, you just stop. Last go. Okay. Let's shift back to all fours and come down onto the elbows. Bring the hands together in a singular fist. We're going to walk the knees together and extend back through the left leg. And then we did these a couple sessions ago. And then we're going to lift up that left leg about level to the hip. And then just do little beats up and down from there. Little beats up and down. Now, as you're working a lot of glute action, but it's just a whole integrated leg. So kind of in your mind, you're not thinking, I just want to fire my glute? No, do the whole exercise with your whole body. So keep the back of your neck long, keep your forearms pressing like you're still doing a plank pose, keep some steadiness through your rib cage, and just let the whole leg from deep in your body lift up and down. And then let's release that. We'll switch sides. So extend back, float up. So that's our low point, which is a working shape, and then it just goes a little up from there. Last couple. And let's release that, everybody. Last little set. We'll extend the leg number one back again, left for most of you. Float her up, but then bend at the knee. So now you just keep that bend in your leg and recruit the same little beats up and down. Even the low point of this little lift lower sequence is still pretty high. You're pushing your heel through the roof, through the ceiling, and through the roof if it goes far enough. All right, and then release that. Last set. Start with the leg bent and already lifted, and then just little beats up and down from there. Oh, thank you. Got a little support from the dog. Last couple, y'all. Maybe 4 or 5 or 6. Eesh. Let's release. Muy bueno. Let's sit back on the heels for a moment. We're going to reach the left arm across. Oh gosh. Catch it with the right elbow. Let your trunk turn, but let your head turn counter. What's up, dog? What are you all about? Are you good? Okay. And then, let's release that, everybody. So we're going to take that new arm across. Give it some help. Let your trunk turn. And then your head turns away over the shoulder. That feels great. Last couple breaths. All right, let's release that. So next, it's advisable to pad the knees a little beyond the thickness of your mat on this dude. So that's probably more than is necessary for me, but feels good. Okay, so we're going to be up on the knees. Those of you that just can't be on the knees, you may just have to kind of modify on your own for the next 2 minutes. And this one too we don't do very often. So you're just going to lean back a little. And to clarify, so you could easily be confused, it's not the camel pose. So there's a big back bend called Ustrasana. We almost look like a bow and you do this giant arch backward. This is different. I'm going to show you even more from a profile. My back's actually not bending. I'm leaning back with those thighs. So right here it really cooks for my quads. And as I come back up, my hamstrings are kind of working. Arms stay along the side. Now you don't want to overcommit to the point where it feels like, I can't get back up. If it feels too weird on your knees, you got to just bail. But if it feels like a lot of work for your quads, and maybe some work for your hamstrings when you make that first transition to come back up, that's great. What would be ideal, I know this is not possible at all, but just to clarify, you have somebody holding your feet and you can go forward too. So if I tucked my feet under this ledge, then I can go forward. If I didn't have my feet tucked, I'd fall into the fern. That one's really intense. So I know we don't have that capacity unless you've got like the perfect size couch to stick your feet under. Otherwise, if you want to increase this guy, you can reach the arms forward. Last couple goes. Ay, ay, ay. And finally, let's release that. Awesome. Let's bring one foot forward, right foot forward. Bring both hands down along right foot. And shimmy up off that back knee. Now, in this shape, you can do a little bit of push and a little bit of pull. The push is going to see your hips drop. Chest might lift a little. The pull is going to see your hips lift and the chest will drop a little. The push might take that front knee a little further forward, but only to the point where the heel can stay grounded. And the pull might leave everything except the heel on the floor. 2 more. Pushing. Pull. The push, chest, head, and tail are kind of on a long straight line, almost like plank. And the pull, basically like a forward bend shape. Okay. We're going to switch legs. New lunge. Same set of hands there. Tucking off the back toes. Or sorry, tucking with the back toes coming off the back knee. We're definitely with toes on the floor. At the push part of the lunge, you might already be at the end range of motion here. You might be able to get down a little further with hips, with groin. Take it just to your comfortable edge. The pull, you might need to shorten your stance. You might want to try releasing through the back of the neck, letting the skull just almost like it's going to roll towards your ankle. Letting the tail have a little perk to it, a little lift. Forward press, a little stronger, a little steadier, a little more plankish. Backward pull, a little softer. The floor of the pelvis is actually in release mode. Last one. One more time. Let's go back to side one. We'll come off the back knee. So whatever leg you've got forward, I think most of you probably have the right one forward, reach the right arm out. And twist upward and rightward. Oh, goodness. And then thread the needle and twist downward away from the bent leg. So a little bit like that all four sequence where we're in some extension through the spine and adding twist. Then we're in some flexion with the spine, adding some twist. Not a lot of flexion though. One more go, but we've now just added that feature of being in the lunge too. Next, before we switch sides, let's have a little pause in a plank position. Aye, mateys, keep a steady plank, or else you will walk the plank. All right, one or the other. Hold plank or walk the plank. I think you'll want to hold the plank. All right, I've totally lost my mind. About 10 more breaths here. Come down as you need to. Stick it out if you can. About 5 more breaths here. Come into the new side. New foot forward. Probably right for lots of you. Whatever foot is forward, that arm goes out like a wing. And a little bit of upward, in this case leftward twisting. Followed by a little taste of downward or rightward twisting. Or away from front knee, whichever leg it is. And if you're right on breath's speed already, you can couple these together with your breathing. Inhale as you lift up into the twist. Exhale as you thread the needle down. Uno más. Inhale out. Exhale, thread. Plank position. Forearm plank position. And see if you can do about 10 back and forths. If you've noticed, each side You always do the same side first, then switch for the last 5. Dog pose. One last big full lunge, everybody. Lift that left leg behind you. Bend the knee. Take one big left-footed step forward. And come up so your hands are on that front thigh. Now, let's get really deliberate about this front foot. Spread the toes. Try to enliven the arch, so it's got some arch. Bias the knee so she sits right above the heel. And slightly rotates out. Next, tuck the ribs in, like you're wearing a little corset. Front leg, if she's left, then that left arm's going to relax down along your side, or almost like you're reaching into a holster. If your back leg's the right, you're going to reach the right arm along your ear. It should feel like you're almost slingshotting your ribs up away from your hips. And your hips are kind of locked in place while the low back gets traction. Now if you want a little more here, and if you've been live with me, you've probably done this at some point, we come back up to this guy. We kind of did it during warm-up, so it's might feel out of context, but pretty similar to what we did. So big huge reach into lunge. Big reach up. About 10 times. Yeah. Oh goodness. Last one. Plank. Dog pose. Get that all going on the new side. Right leg behind you, new leg. One big step forward. Hands on the thigh. So last lunge sequence, we've really worked up to this one. Bias this thigh slightly out toward little toe. Get really grounded on this foot. Ribs lengthen, but corset at the same time. So not a huge back bend, more lengthening, traction. Match the back leg with a high arm. Match the front leg with a backwardly reaching arm. Stay here if you're not up for the marching. Or maybe just do a tiny slow motion version. Otherwise, it can move. Trying for about 10. Should be on about the last 5. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. So nice. No more lunges. One last squat. Bias the knees slightly out. You can even push. And then see if you can drop those hips again. Once you come to a seat, we're going to seal the inner upper thighs. Inside edges of the toes pretty close together. Reach the arms forward. Lift up through the sides of the waist. And just barely range your arms left to right. You're letting your trunk turn. You're letting your head turn. You could even be so deliberate as to basically look out at the thumbs. such that your head and trunk are turning the same amount. If you want a little more, you can let the hands come down. And if you want it a little more still, you could let the feet just barely lift up. Maybe 3 more per side. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Back to center. Next, we're going to sneak those feet in fairly close to the waist. Hands backward. I like facing the fingers backward. You can face them backward or outward. And lift up your hips. Really try to squeeze your hips up that last bit so that your pubic bones are as high as your thighs. And then release back down. And repeat. If that's too hard on your wrists, but everything else is game, do it from the forearms. If you want just kind of a different challenge, do it with straight legs. So these are all variations of the pose called Purvottanasana. Kind of like upside down plank or belly up plank. Squeeze with your butt though. Now if you opt for a little more in this last one, add a diagonal reach with your arm. So I'm reaching right arm toward back left corner, and then I'll reach left arm toward back right corner. Last little bit, squeeze the hips to your comfortable max, reach out through an arm, return. Finally, come on back. Oh, goodness. Let's extend both legs straight ahead. All right. Then we'll cross left leg on top. Right leg underneath. We're trying to get close to like a 90 degree and a 90 degree angle. So the shins have a little pile, sometimes even called shin pile, shin stack. Usually the top knee will be, it'll always be some distance from the bottom ankle, but usually it's a distance where they don't touch. Maybe they do. Hinge forward a little bit. It's essentially like two-legged pigeon pose. All right. Let's come up from there. Goodness. And change sides. So new leg on top. New leg on the bottom. New gap to contend with. It's fine. Or if you have an appropriate prop nearby, you could fill up that space. This hinge might be overkill for some of you if this pose is already kind of at your edge range of motion. But if it's in there for you, you can hinge a little further. All right. From there, everybody, let's come back up. So what we're going to do is find any comfortable seat for about 2 minutes. Very short. I have my good little meditation bench here. So I'm going to be able to sit in a very comfortable version of Virasana, but you find whatever pose suits you for the moment. So Dandasana, straight legs, Sukhasana, crossed legs, or Virasana with or without support. All right. And just before we enter our corpse pose experience tonight, just take a moment and sit. You're welcome to keep your eyes softly open or gently closed. And just see if you can really tune in fully to the next breath. And continue on in that fashion. And you don't have to narrow your attention, just let it be wide and open. But just see if part of what you're tuned into with a wide open mind is the sensation of breathing. It's already just right there in your field of conscious awareness. Well, I think your disposition toward the pose is probably about all the equipment you need. Feel free to take the next minute to grab whatever will help you make your corpse more comfortable. So I'm going to spin around so that I'm close to the mics. I'm going to use a small little neck pillow tonight, but you take whatever you like. And a gentle little blanket fold right over the hips. Make sure my space is clear enough. Whew. And that just feels fabulous. So please make your way into a Shavasana, corpse pose. And just see if your body can find some combination of being deliberately centered and maximally relaxed muscularly. Right? So just a little effort to get centered, and then pretty much the release of all effort from there. And coming back to that disposition of Just a wide open, spacious mind, but sort of without any particular focus at all. And of course, feel free to close your eyes for these few minutes. I usually come out of the pose a minute early, and then I'll signal you when it's time to come out collectively. Let's bring your awareness back to your breathing. And slowly, if not immediately, back to sensations in your body. You might wiggle your fingers and toes, and maybe even hug the knees in toward the chest, and either rock and roll to the side and push up, or rock and roll forward and back and come up that way. So everybody, thank you for practicing yoga together in this virtual way. It's really great that we can kind of stay connected as a little sangha, as a group. Those of you that consistently have been coming back to the sessions, it's great. We can just stay a little healthy in this time when we really need to be healthy. And do something nice and productive at home, and take advantage of the ease with which this technology exists for us to do this. Anyway, thank you all so much. Namaste.